What if everything you thought you knew about how humans understand the world and their fundamental purpose within it, what if that was based on an incomplete picture? Imagine stepping into a shortcut to being truly well-informed, uncovering surprising facts and, well, profound insights that might just challenge the very foundations of modern science and our understanding of what it means to be human. That's precisely our mission today.
And it's a mission that takes us on, frankly, an incredibly ambitious intellectual journey. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into a truly fascinating work, The Science of Agency by Müller-Pretorius. This isn't just a book, it's a sweeping reevaluation, an invitation to profoundly rethink our understanding of agency, consciousness, and, the very fabric of existence itself.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the start then. The author frames his entire work using Iain McGilchrist's powerful and, well, often discussed metaphor from The Master and His Emissary. For those who might be new to McGilchrist's ideas, he draws this distinction between the holistic right brain, which he calls the master, responsible for seeing the big picture, context, interconnectedness.
Right, the overall grasp.
Exactly. And then the analytical left brain, the emissary, which excels at breaking things down, detailed analysis, manipulation. The master provides the encompassing perspective, while the emissary focuses on the specific. It gets things done, basically.
That's a crucial framework, yes. And what makes Pretorius's work particularly unique is how he applies this metaphor. He posits that the emissary for this book, his own analytical dissecting force in this grand exploration, is actually a collection of experimental artificial intelligence.
Wow.
Yeah. He's effectively saying that this collaboration between human insight and advanced AI is designed to provide a really comprehensive exploration, inviting you, our listener, to hear a call to the future of scientific advancement.
So it's not just a philosophical concept floating out there. It's a practical, very modern application. It's almost like a technological leap comparable to the Gutenberg revolution for knowledge dissemination, is it?
That's the analogy he draws.
Gutenberg democratized access to written knowledge through the printing press, right? Allowing ideas to spread far and wide. Pretorius seems to be suggesting AI, particularly large language models, offers an even deeper, more interactive engagement with humanity's vast collective knowledge, potentially making incredibly complex information far more approachable and, well, widely understood.
Precisely. It's about leveraging these new tools to maybe break down complex barriers to understanding. So our goal for you in this deep dive is to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight from this, frankly, monumental work. We want to offer a clear structure and engaging delivery, something that truly respects your time.
Okay. So we'll explore how human agency, that capacity for deliberate action, self-awareness, how that has evolved through millennia. We'll see how it intertwines with scientific discovery and how our perception of reality has shifted over time, consistently challenging any, purely mechanistic view of the universe.
Yeah, the idea that it's all just cogs in a machine.
Right. We're going to delve into some truly profound questions. Is free will an illusion, or is it fundamental to our nature? What is the true essence of human consciousness, and how does it connect us not just to other humans, but to all other living things? Get ready to maybe reconsider some fundamental assumptions and hopefully find yourself having some serious aha moments.
Absolutely. And to truly appreciate the breadth and depth of this journey, we really must first lay the foundations by exploring the very nature of consciousness itself. The book begins by asserting that while humans inherently possess a powerful sense of agency, we are far from isolated in this capacity. Not at all. Instead, we are presented as part of a broad, continuous spectrum of consciousness that spans every single living organism on this planet.
That's such a crucial and often overlooked distinction, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not just about human consciousness being unique in isolation.
Exactly.
But truly recognizing its place on this vast continuum. At one end, you have the most basic life forms, single-celled organisms, viruses, bacteria simple in structure, yet incredibly resilient, adaptable.
And possessing a fundamental drive to exist and interact with their environment. They have agency of sorts.
And at the other end, of course, are us humans with our profoundly distinct and, well, complex kind of consciousness.
Our human uniqueness, while definitely part of that continuum, is truly profound. Human consciousness isn't merely self-awareness in the simple sense. It's the astonishing ability to ponder abstract concepts that have no physical form, like justice, beauty, or infinity.
Things you can't just point to.
Precisely. It's the capacity to imagine futures that don't yet exist, to reflect deeply and critically on our past actions and experiences, and hopefully learn from them. We are the creators of art, the composers of poetry, the very beings who question the nature of our own existence, our purpose, the universe itself. Yet the core emphasis the book places here is on appreciating all unique kinds of consciousness across this vast spectrum. It serves as a profound reminder of our deep, undeniable connections to every other life form on Earth, from the simplest to the most complex.
And the book gives us a truly powerful and, I found, deeply moving example of this connection with the Academy Award-winning documentary, My Octopus Teacher.
Oh, fantastic film. Yes.
It offers such a profound, intimate insight into the relationship that develops between filmmaker Craig Foster and a wild common octopus living in a cold South African kelp forest. Foster, facing severe burnout and physical exhaustion from his demanding work, finds this unexpected solace and healing by freediving daily in this vibrant underwater world.
It's a remarkable and deeply personal story of unexpected connection and really interspecies communication. Foster encounters this young female octopus, and through persistent daily visits over many months, he develops an extraordinary bond with her. It's quite something to watch.
Absolutely. He observes with incredible patience her astonishing intelligence, her, chameleon-like adaptability, and her intricate interactions with her environment.
Her hunting strategies, how she hides.
Right, from her cunning hunting strategies to her ingenious methods of camouflaging herself from predators. The documentary beautifully captures her entire life cycle. It illustrates the intertwined conscious experiences of these two vastly different beings. It's a compelling argument against, human exceptionalism in consciousness, isn't it?
It really is. What stands out is how the film highlights that the distinction between human and animal agency, while clear in many ways, isn't always as rigidly defined as we might assume. The emotional connection that develops between Foster and the octopus is not just a passing fascination. It's deeply therapeutic and transformative for him.
It reignites his spirit, offers him a fresh perspective on life, helps him overcome his burnout. It's just a powerful illustration of this spectrum of consciousness in action, showing how a profound emotional connection between humans and nature can have a truly transformative impact on our well-being and understanding.
It absolutely does. And the spectrum of consciousness isn't just some philosophical concept the book introduces and then drops. No, it remains a key illuminating theme throughout this entire work. It suggests the potential for entirely new kinds of thinking and perhaps even new sciences that explore these connections more deeply. And flowing directly from this unique human place on the consciousness spectrum is something truly special that differentiates us. Conscious collaboration.
Yes. This is where it gets incredibly insightful, I think. The cognitive leap that early humans made, enabling us to consciously pool our cognitive and physical resources in unprecedented ways.
To solve complex challenges together.
Exactly. That was a game changer. This collective effort led directly to the inception of culture, the development of shared traditions, the establishment of societal norms. These practices weren't just decorative or convenient. They were, in essence, the fundamental glue that held early human societies together, allowing them to flourish beyond mere survival.
Absolutely. When you think about it, rituals, stories, myths, legends, they didn't just entertain or pass the time. They served as incredibly powerful moral compasses, illustrating shared values, ethics, acceptable behaviors.
Teaching the next generation.
Precisely. These collective narratives fostered cooperation among large groups of often unrelated individuals, providing a cohesive collective identity and a profound sense of shared purpose. This allowed individuals to predict the behaviors of their peers, reducing conflicts, building mutual trust, and enabling larger, more complex social structures to emerge. It was a conscious choice for cohesion, not just instinct.
But as you'd expect, with any complex system, this conscious collaboration came with its own inherent challenges. As early societies grew larger and more intricate, so did the complexities of interpersonal relationships and the fair allocation of resources.
Always the sticking point, resources.
Right. Hierarchies naturally formed. Power dynamics began to shift. And those very societal norms, initially designed to foster unity and cooperation, sometimes became rigid tools for control and even subjugation. This historical pattern raises an important question for us today. In our increasingly complex world, how do we maintain truly healthy, equitable, and conscious collaboration?
That is a profoundly critical question for our modern age. Our ability to pool resources, share knowledge, innovate collectively, all built on this deep legacy of shared beliefs and collaborative endeavors, remains absolutely critical for navigating today's truly global challenges.
Climate change, tech disruption.
Exactly. Whether we're talking about the existential threat of climate change, the rapid disruption of technological advancements, or managing complex global supply chains, it's our collective consciousness and willingness to work together that will define our success. Yet, paradoxically, this very interconnectedness also leaves us more vulnerable to the rapid proliferation of mistakes or even deliberate manipulations if we lose sight of genuine conscious intent. It's truly a double-edged sword that demands careful stewardship.
To really drive home this central point about the spectrum of consciousness and the nuanced nature of human agency, the book introduces two absolutely fascinating parables. One is told from the astonishing perspective of a bacterium, and the other from the human end of this spectrum. But before we dive into those, let's briefly touch on how modern science often models and understands complex systems.
Certainly. In modern scientific inquiry, particularly in fields like biology, physics, computer science, we extensively use computational modeling, advanced probability theory, physics principles to simulate and predict behavior in incredibly complex systems, including living organisms. This approach is often framed within a purely stochastic or probability space, meaning we calculate the likelihood of certain outcomes, like survival probabilities. It's fundamentally a mechanistic view, analyzing organisms as intricate mechanisms.
Driven by forces and probabilities.
Okay.
And when you apply this purely mechanistic survival agency lens to single-celled organisms like bacteria and archaea, you uncover some truly peculiar properties.
Oh, definitely. They are incredibly adaptable, found everywhere from deep-sea vents to, well, the outside of the International Space Station.
Right. They reproduce at an astonishing rate, sometimes in minutes, allowing for incredibly fast evolution and adaptation. Some can even form resilient endospores, entering a dormant state that allows them to survive extreme conditions for millennia.
From a purely survival-driven perspective, they truly embody efficiency. They possess the least amount of unnecessary specialization for pure survival, streamlining their existence to propagate and endure. Now, let's immerse ourselves in the first parable from the mindless inner being of a bacterium. Imagine, if you can, being a bacterium, single-celled, reproducing independently, countless others just like you. And then from this perspective, you suddenly become aware of a far more complex, multicellular organism, which you observe and refer to as Darwin representing humanity.
Okay, I'm with you. And from this bacterium's perspective, observing Darwin's species, it would find humanity astronomically less efficient for survival.
Absolutely baffling.
Think about it. A human body is composed of 30 to 37 trillion cells, all coordinating. Our replication process is painstakingly slow compared to bacterial fission, and our cellular bonds are seemingly weaker, unable to withstand 10 atmospheres of pressure or extreme temperatures like some bacteria can. The bacterium, in its logical, efficient worldview, would find Darwin's claims of humans being the zenith of mechanistic survival perfection. Utterly baffling, if not frankly arrogant. It sees us as over-engineered, slow, delicate.
It's a brilliant inversion of perspective, isn't it? The bacterium would logically point out that it and its kind were already launched into space by volcanic eruptions and survived long before any human-like creatures walked the Earth. They can occupy virtually any environment, even the most hostile corners of space. This parable directly challenges the prevailing idea that human evolution is purely about mechanistic survival enhancements.
It throws that right out the window.
It does. Instead, the bacterium, with its inherent efficiency, posits that these human enhancements are for something entirely different. For consciousness, for unique sensory awareness, for the complex collaborative societies we discussed. It's a powerful critique of the confirmation bias built into a purely materialistic interpretation of Darwinian theory, suggesting we might be missing the forest for the trees.
That's such a brilliant way to flip the script and force us to question our assumptions. It truly makes you think about what success in evolution really means. Now, let's shift our perspective to the human end of the spectrum with the second parable, which speaks to a different kind of drive. Imagine early humans, not the strongest or fastest creatures in the primal world, but possessing a truly unique spark, a profound curiosity.
A different kind of impulse.
Exactly. They weren't just surviving day to day. They looked up at the night sky, utterly captivated, asking, "What are those twinkling lights?" This wasn't a question of immediate survival or hunting strategy. It was a fundamental question of understanding, of reaching for the transcendent, for meaning beyond the purely material.
Their quest was about something far more profound than mere existence. These early humans formed communities not simply for protection from predators, but based on trust, shared stories, mutual aid. They danced together, sang together, created art in caves. Survival was almost beside the point. The overarching goal was fostering a shared identity, a collective purpose, a sense of belonging.
It changes the whole motivation.
It does. Even their physiological responses evolved beyond pure fight or flight. Their immune systems, their conscious alertness became about maintaining that deeper connection. The parable illustrates that even when overwhelmed by existential threats like viruses, it was the conscious experience of delirium and acute awareness of the transcendent that sustained them, providing a framework for meaning even in suffering.
This parable powerfully argues that life's unfolding is fundamentally about consciousness, not just about mechanistic survival. It reinforces the idea that agency and consciousness have this unique, interwoven relationship, and that science can actually be a beacon for joy and interaction.
A path to wonder, not just control.
Right, a way to deepen our understanding and appreciation of existence, rather than simply being a tool for mechanistic control or understanding the purely physical. It's about discovering how science can be repositioned at the forefront, not just as a means to survive, but as a path to bringing joy and wonder into every interaction with the world.
It's a compelling vision, offering a renewed sense of purpose for scientific inquiry. Moving on from these foundational concepts of consciousness and early human agency, our deep dive now takes us to ancient civilizations and the transformative period of the Axial Age, where human agency truly began to gain unparalleled momentum and complexity.
What's particularly fascinating as we look at early ancient civilizations is how similar their beginnings were across vast distances. Think of Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, the Indus Valley civilizations. Despite being separated by thousands of kilometers, different geographical settings.
They shared fundamental factors for success.
Exactly. The collective ability to develop sophisticated irrigation systems, transforming arid lands into fertile grounds, and the shared capacity to collaborate for mutual protection against natural threats, external aggressors. It highlights this universal drive for human agency and cooperation, almost an innate blueprint for civilization.
And this mirroring extended far beyond just their origins. It deeply influenced their cultural and governance advances. All of these civilizations independently established complex writing systems, cuneiform, hieroglyphics, the still undeciphered Indus script. They built architectural wonders, ziggurats, pyramids, meticulously planned cities.
Testaments to their ingenuity and organization.
Absolutely. And their increasingly complex societies necessitated elaborate legal and administrative codes, indicating a structured, shared existence where rules and order were consciously established and maintained.
But despite these shared foundational elements, the environment played an enormous role in shaping their distinct reactions and, ultimately, their unique cultural identities. For example, the unpredictable, often violent Tigris and Euphrates in Mesopotamia, those sudden, devastating floods might have fostered more militaristic tendencies, a pessimistic worldview.
Humanity at the mercy of capricious gods, perhaps.
Right. Whereas the incredibly predictable annual flooding of the Nile in Egypt facilitated a culture focused on cyclical order, stability, and a profound obsession with the afterlife.
Reflected in their pyramids and burial rituals.
Exactly. And the vast, fertile floodplains of the Indus River allowed for sophisticated urban planning, cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. The archaeology suggests maybe a more peaceful, perhaps egalitarian society. Limited signs of warfare, no huge palaces for single rulers.
It seems that way. Each community of humans reacted uniquely to their specific environment, not merely to survive, but actively and consciously to thrive and build a distinct way of life. These were conscious decisions shaping unique cultural values: the Mesopotamian pantheon, the Egyptian afterlife focus, the Indus Valley's urban living.
Beyond these grand civilizations, the book also thoughtfully highlights what it terms the indigenous perspective, showing how various tribal groups weren't isolated or primitive.
No, they were often integral parts of the larger picture.
Right, not subservient, showcasing a nuanced interplay of power, trade, diplomacy. They existed on the fringes or within the spheres of influence of empires. It challenges simplistic narratives of dominant civilizations versus isolated tribes.
Exactly. And even the great Central and South American civilizations, though often emerging later, displayed incredibly rich agency through innovative production means and complex socio-political relations. Think of the Inca terracing, Aztec Chinampas ingenious agriculture.
Incredible adaptations.
And their complex structures, the Inca road system, the Aztec tribute empire, demonstrate incredible human ingenuity and conscious organization. Their interactions with neighbors, alliances, trade, conflict further underscore the varied active expressions of human agency across continents and timelines.
And let's not forget the special tribes, like ancient Israel, navigating incredibly complex geopolitical landscapes at the crossroads of powerful empires, Egyptians, Assyrians, Babylonians.
Caught in the middle, often.
Absolutely. They were undoubtedly influenced technologically, culturally, religiously by their mighty neighbors, absorbing ideas and innovations.
Yet, amidst these overwhelming external forces, they fiercely guarded their distinct identity, their monotheistic faith in Yahweh, their centralized cult in Jerusalem. This continuous dance between smaller, distinct tribal entities and the great, expansive civilizations demonstrates the profound, varied expressions of human agency, the conscious choice to maintain identity under pressure.
This brings us to where it gets really interesting, the Axial Age. This period, roughly 8th to 3rd centuries BCE, saw an undeniable, truly profound shift in human agency and conscious faculties across the globe. It wasn't just gradual evolution, it was like a quantum leap in human thought, self-awareness, an explosion of new ideas about morality, purpose, the human condition.
It's a remarkable convergence of independent intellectual and spiritual breakthroughs. Think of the Greek philosophical traditions emerging then. Early pre-Socratics moved beyond myths, focusing on cosmology, the nature of existence. Heraclitus touched on human desires, conflicts. Later, the sophist Protagoras, Gorgias emphasized subjective truth, rhetoric, persuasion, and shaping destiny, highlighting nurture and agency.
The power of argument.
Absolutely. And then came the profound critiques and deeper explorations that truly define Western thought. Socrates championing objective truth through questioning, emphasizing self-knowledge, introspection.
Know thyself.
Exactly. His student Plato elaborated with his tripartite soul reason governing actions and passions, and Aristotle with his foundational concept of telos, or purpose, arguing everything has an intrinsic end, emphasizing inherent potentials, virtuous actions via the golden mean, finding that middle ground.
Courage between cowardice and recklessness, for instance.
Precisely. The Stoics Zeno, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius introduced the logos, a rational divine principle permeating the cosmos. They believed in a deterministic universe, but crucially, asserted human agency lay in how we consciously respond to events, not control them. This allowed for inner freedom, flourishing even amidst adversity, focusing on judgments and reactions. This rich tradition laid extensive groundwork for understanding agency's complexities.
What's truly striking in the book's analysis is its take on Epicurean philosophy, which it labels as surprisingly modern and even a cautionary tale for our current times. Epicurus' core tenets included atomism, everything, even the soul, composed of atoms that occasionally swerve unpredictably, a precursor to modern reductionist materialism.
And the idea of a mechanistic universe, yeah.
Right. He advocated pursuing happiness not through hedonism, but simple joys, tranquility of mind, ataraxia, absence of physical pain, aponia, with deep friendship being key.
The book argues that Epicurean ideas, despite their ancient origins, reflect the more sensual or mechanistic aspects of the spectrum of consciousness. And here's the critical insight. The author suggests that in today's similar age of pervasive materialism and relentless pursuit of efficiency, we risk losing our edge on scientific advancement and ultimately our human essence.
If we prioritize mechanistic efficiency over deeper purpose.
Exactly. If we prioritize that and immediate gratification, it's a warning, a historical echo resonating powerfully today with the debates about AI, human purpose, societal direction. It raises a crucial question. Are we inadvertently designing our societies, our technologies, even our understanding of ourselves to be less conscious, pushing us, as the Bacterium parable warned, toward the bacterial end of the consciousness spectrum?
That's quite the warning. To further highlight the profound shifts and search for deeper meaning during the Axial Age, the book brings in Nebuchadnezzar's dream from Daniel. A mighty king troubled by a dream, none of his wise men can interpret it. Daniel, a young captive, reveals the dream. A massive statue head of gold, chest arms of silver, belly thighs of bronze, legs of iron, feet mixed iron and clay.
And then the stone, not carved by human hands.
Right. Strikes the feet, shatters the statue, grows to fill the whole earth.
Daniel's interpretation's successive earthly kingdoms, each less pure, more rigid, followed by a divinely established eternal kingdom, is pivotal.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is the stark contrast. Daniel's God monotheistic, directly communicative, universal, sovereign over nature and history, versus Nebuchadnezzar's gods polytheistic, distant, interpreted by soothsayers.
A totally different concept of divinity.
Completely. This narrative powerfully exemplifies the Axial Age's profound search for a deeper, unified understanding, moving beyond the chaos of earlier polytheism, a quest for transcendent order and meaning.
So this transformative axial age culminates in what the book describes as human agency through empires of iron. The Roman Empire, in its vastness and power, absorbed many axial ideas, forming a powerful culmination. Its universality, seen in civitas, citizenship, the Pax Romana fostering shared identity, facilitating movement of ideas despite its imperial nature.
The Roman Empire also epitomized syncretism-blending cultures, philosophies. As it expanded, it absorbed Greek philosophy, Egyptian architecture, local deities. This ability to meld, adapt, fuse traditions reflects the Axial Age's inclination towards exploring varied paths to truth. A conscious choice to integrate, not just eradicate.
And this incredible flourishing wasn't just in Rome. The book highlights the symbiotic relationship between Rome, the Confucian Chinese empires, and Indian empires. They shared influences, especially from Greek thought via trade routes like the Silk Road. But each developed its unique flavor of agency. Confucianism, meritocracy, the five relationships structuring society, social harmony through ethical governance, uniquely shaped Chinese culture.
Similarly, in India, Dharma-driven relationships emphasized righteousness, moral values, virtuous behavior as guiding principles. The wonders of Confucian Chinese empires, Han Dynasty, Confucianism as state ideology, Silk Road, Tang Dynasty, cultural renaissance blending Confucian, Taoist, Buddhist beliefs, coexisted and interacted with Rome, leaving indelible marks, distinct yet equally complex manifestations.
So what about the legs of iron from Nebuchadnezzar's dream? Traditionally Rome, but the book suggests a more expansive interpretation. It symbolizes all dominant Axial Age empires, Roman, Confucian, Indian, maybe even ancient South American like the Inca.
Representing their enduring strength, profound influence, the powerful, almost unbreakable nature of these consciously constructed civilizations. It's a unifying symbol. It ties together disparate yet simultaneous developments. This brings us to a new, pivotal phase, the age of iron and clay, ushering in modern science, fundamentally reshaping human agency again.
So, the statue's feet. A fusion of iron and clay. Iron represents the might of empires, cohesive ideologies seeking unity and control. Clay embodies the resilient, decentralized, often deeply spiritual, tribal spirit, adaptable, enduring. It symbolizes this interplay. Global ideologies meeting localized intentions.
Creating a union that's strong yet delicate.
Right, a strong yet delicate union. What's truly fascinating is how early Christianity, in its nascent days, is likened to this clay. It began small, seemingly fragile, yet universal in message, incredibly malleable, capable of embracing diversity, adapting to different cultures. Think of Peter's vision in Acts, shattering Jewish dietary laws, tribal distinctions, a call for inclusive, universal Christianity transcending ethnicity. Its growth symbolized melding transcendent and immanent beliefs into a new agency.
And Daniel's prophecy revisited, Daniel 2.43, iron mixed with clay, they will not remain united, takes on new depth. Not just about empires falling, but the inherent challenge of diverse cultures and beliefs reconciling without homogenizing. This union, seen when Christianity became Constantine's state religion, was strong yet delicate, precarious. State power intertwined with spiritual independence, often leading to tension.
The book underscores this complex origin by highlighting Dyer May McCulloch's Christianity of the first 3,000 years. McCulloch details its deep roots in Judaism, its spread in the Roman context, Paul's crucial role shaping doctrine for non-Jews.
And the early diversity of beliefs, it wasn't monolithic.
Not at all. This complex origin reflects the intricate interactions of human belief systems, the enduring power of both transcendent, universal, and immanent local natures of agency coming together.
This complex interplay, particularly in Europe, laid the groundwork for the Renaissance, a true new birth after perceived gloom and decline. Historian Carol Quigley highlights a unique aspect of Europe's feudal era. Unlike centralized Islamic or Chinese empires, fragmentation of power prevented a single universal empire.
Due to complex power dynamics, local liberties, the church's influence.
Exactly, a unique setup. And it's crucial to challenge the Dark Ages myth. The Middle Ages weren't dark for science globally. The Islamic world made immense contributions, preserving Greek-Roman knowledge, pioneering algebra, optics, medicine. In Europe, universities emerged, often from monasteries, institutionalizing inquiry. Even alchemists practiced empirical methodology, observing, experimenting, a precursor to modern chemistry.
However, the late Middle Ages in Europe were undeniably marked by deep despair, social upheaval. The Black Death decimated populations, leading to hopelessness. The Hundred Years' War caused economic strain. The Papal Schism eroded church confidence. Scholastic rigidity stifled free thinking. Feudalism declined. It was a rough time.
Yet, paradoxically, these very conditions acted as a powerful catalyst for the Renaissance. The fall of Constantinople brought classical manuscripts west, revitalizing intellectual life. Gutenberg's printing press democratized knowledge, accelerating idea spread. An artistic, scientific blossoming celebrated human potential. Figures like Copernicus, heliocentric model, and Vesalius, anatomy via direct observation, challenged norms, paving the way for empirical understanding.
This incredible rebirth led directly to the scientific revolution, breaking boundaries, reimagining agency. The Christian Reformation played a complex role here. Erasmus's commitment to original texts, Luther's emphasis on personal scripture interpretation fostered an environment where questioning doctrines, religious and scientific, became more common.
Combined with the printing press, it provided ideological and practical frameworks for scientific advances.
And the Catholic Counter-Reformation.
Its response, while aiming to stabilize societies against chaotic individualism, ironically also contributed. The Council of Trent clarified doctrine. The Jesuit order emphasized education, inadvertently preparing the world with intellectual tools for the revolution's outcomes, a complex dynamic.
So the interplay of Reformation, Counter-Reformation, scientific revolution propelled human agency into a new orbit, leading towards naturalism, reductive materialism. The initial aim, fascinatingly, was almost to understand how pre-Christian gods could be expelled, and even the transcendent God understood or dismissed through natural laws.
Despite this trajectory towards naturalism, the book argues Christianity had a profound underlying influence, providing the philosophical groundwork. Christian cosmology, rational God, intelligible universe instilled belief the universe could be understood through reason. Monasteries preserved knowledge. Universities, rooted in Christian settings, fostered inquiry. Many notable scientists, Copernicus, Galileo, Kepler, Newton, operated within a Christian worldview, seeing science as revealing God's creation. This often fostered humility, encouraging meticulous observation.
This brings us squarely into the Enlightenment and Industrial Age periods, promising limitless agency, but introducing a profound, unsettling paradox. The Enlightenment, successor to the scientific revolution, emphasized reason, science, individualism, skepticism of tradition. Rousseau argued humans were innately good, corrupted by society.
Criticizing unnatural subservience.
Right. Education and literacy became vital for an emancipated humanity, capable of self-governance.
The Industrial Revolution then acted as a monumental catalyst. Steam engine, mechanized production, urbanization transformed societies rapidly. It fundamentally redefined human agency.
Creating opportunities, but also regimented work, dehumanization.
Exactly. It created opportunities, but also brutal factory work, leading to labor movements, fueled capitalism, democratized goods, but also caused spiritual shifts as urbanization led to a spiritual void.
And here lies the paradox the book highlights. This era, aiming to restore the human within the utopian state of nature, inadvertently created humans as resource-optimizing producers and consumers. The author argues this pushed agency toward the bacterial end of the consciousness spectrum. Efficiency, consumption, mechanistic functions paramount at the expense of deeper purpose, connection. The paradox of dehumanization in the name of progress.
It truly is. A sobering thought and a potent warning for today. Interestingly, during this flux, Christian revivals emerge as spiritual anchors, providing meaning, community, fostering social responsibility like the Salvation Army addressing industrialization's ills, poverty, alcoholism, as if humanity intuitively sought to reestablish communion with its higher consciousness, recognizing the pull towards mechanism.
The book then presents potent cautionary tales about mechanistic science, particularly through C.S. Lewis. Lewis, a reformed atheist turned Christian, critiqued dehumanization in purely mechanistic sciences untethered from ethics. In The Abolition of Man, he warned against a utilitarian worldview producing men without chests, devoid of moral compass, values reduced to objects.
And his Space Trilogy vividly illustrates this. Unchecked scientific ambition, devoid of moral limits, seeking to reshape humanity by utilitarian or malevolent designs. Lewis wasn't anti-science. He advocated preserving human essence, arguing against reductionist materialism, reducing humans to machines without free will. Harmonize science with ethics, that was his plea.
And Darwinian theory, in this context, is presented as the culmination of Enlightenment ideals. Reason, empirical evidence, challenging tradition. Darwin's work embodies these principles.
But the bacterium's rebuttal returns forcefully. The parable highlights alleged confirmation bias in the purely materialistic interpretation of Darwinism. The bacterium argues Darwin's P1, mechanistic reproductive advantages drive evolution, isn't proven by P2, organism's existence implies higher probability of existing, making C1, P1 is the mechanism, a self-referential non sequitur.
Like saying, I'm here, so how I think I got here must be right.
Basically, yes. The bacterium posits human evolution represents enhancements for consciousness, richer sensory awareness, complex thought, not just mechanical superiority. The book contends Darwin's theory, as widely interpreted, became the capstone on a complete edifice of the reductionist materialist approach, cementing a metaphysical outlook dismissing transcendent agency.
That's a bold claim, asking us to question foundations we take for granted. This ties back to Enlightenment's shared values with Epicureanism, valuing reason, empirical observation, senses as primary knowledge.
Both critical of traditional religion, aiming to dispel fear, both pursued happiness, ataraxia versus progress flourishing, both emphasize community, friendships versus social contracts, both aim to uplift humanity.
And this convergence leads to the book's Enlightenment's three-body problem, a heuristic illustrating the interplay of three outlooks: humanistic, Epicureanism, agnostic Stoic, and individualistic transcendent Christianity. Like the physics problem, these intellectual forces created a complex, turbulent landscape.
What's fascinating is the argument that Christianity was the larger body of influence, especially societally and scientifically, despite Enlightenment critiques. Compare the American Revolution's stability, drawing on Christian principles, with the French Revolution's chaos, attempting to remove Christian influence, Notre Dame as Temple of Reason. Suggests Christianity, with its institutions and moral framework, served as a major stabilizing force, even supporting rational inquiry via an ordered universe framework.
Moving into the 19th, 20th centuries, agency in a connected world faces new realities. Nietzsche's God is dead wasn't just atheism, it signaled erosion of traditional Christian values. He warned of a moral vacuum, dangerous humanistic ideologies, totalitarianism, anticipating aggressive nationalism with his will to power.
War, too, is re-examined. Mechanistic view, a moral tool for societal progress via competition. Expanded evolutionary view, harsh means to achieve higher consciousness.
Forcing societies to organize, strategize, innovate, develop ethics.
Exactly. Pushing humanity away from efficient survival structures like bacteria. Modern weapons demand the highest forms of moral commitments. Christian view, all lifeblood precious, needing godly objective. Nature's blood and sacrifice, not meaningless, can lead to spiritual enlightenment, connection with God. Suffering can lead to acute conscious awareness, Romans 1.20. No conscious excuse for human-to-human malevolence, only mechanistic ones.
Technological revelation, railroads, telegraph, tanks, aircraft, atomic bomb, enabled total war, integrating civilian life with conflict, leading to unimaginable destruction. Highlights the choice: become mechanistically perfect zombie bacteria or focus on higher orders of consciousness.
The role of universities evolved too, becoming innovation bastions, driving interdisciplinary global research via IT, internet, cloud, incubating startups, fostering active student contribution.
But there's Huxley's critique, Brave New World, a dystopia of manufactured happiness via technology, complacency eerily like Black Mirror. A stark warning if humanity focuses agency towards the bacterium end. Mechanistic dystopia, the paradox of progress, comfort at the cost of the soul.
Illustrates modernism's fading Enlightenment dream. Modernism's faith in progress, reason aimed to control and improve the world. But focus on individual interpretation, subjective reality often became detached. Culminates in a critique of the 19th century scientific outlook, a self-contained, self-existent, self-explanatory universe.
And here's where the 20th century reframes the universe entirely, shattering those pillars. Big Bang Theory debunks the self-existent universe with a definite beginning, 13.8 billion years ago, supported by cosmic microwave background, challenges materialist orthodoxy.
Then quantum physics challenges the self-contained universe, introduces uncertainties, probabilities, Heisenberg, non-locality entanglement, spooky action. Wave function collapse implies an intelligence able to choose that coherence every Planck moment, suggests consciousness transcends the physical.
And Gödel's incompleteness theorems challenge the self-explanatory universe. Mathematical systems contain truths unprovable from within. Hints at limits to knowing from within a system, suggesting a transcendent realm. Profound implications for AGI.
So the 20th century dissolved the 19th century pillars, revealed a universe neither self-existent, self-contained, nor self-explanatory, created tension between immanence and transcendence. Science can identify artifacts that can only be explained by transcendent agency.
This incredible journey brings us to a crucial point: balancing acts and charting a path for a new science of agency. The book highlights Plantinga and Nagel.
Alvin Plantinga, where the conflict really lies, argues no inherent conflict between science and theism. Real conflict is between science and naturalism, everything explained by natural causes. If naturalism and evolution are true, cognitive faculties aim for survival, not truth, undermining their reliability. Theism provides stronger foundation for trusting cognition and science.
How does he see God acting?
As primary cause, foundational, not competing with secondary causes, natural processes. God conserves the world in existence, like observer wave function. Quantum indeterminacy provides space for God's action without violating natural laws. Miracles might be our lack of understanding of God's continuous interaction.
Then Thomas Nagel, an atheist.
Yes, an atheist critiquing the materialist neo-Darwinian conception of nature as almost certainly false, argues it fails to explain consciousness, teleology, purpose directionality, truth-seeking capacity of cognition, calls for a more expansive naturalism including non-material elements, consciousness, reason, value as fundamental, suggests the universe may inherently tend towards life and consciousness.
The synergy is profound. Despite different beliefs, both advocate reintroducing teleology, purpose-driven principles, into science, not abandoning empirical science but broadening its scope. Offers an inclusive approach, moving beyond materialist orthodoxy, opening doors to a richer holistic understanding.
This culmination allows for a science of agency distinguishing. First, primary agency. God's foundational action bringing order from chaos, life from mechanism, the transcendent source. Second, secondary agency, agency of living organisms, created through a process aimed at consciousness, not mere survival.
This framework leads to a testable hypothesis.
Yes. The idea God, via primary causation, acted on genetic information to build consciousness, least to most, becomes testable via computational modeling sciences. We're in a privileged era to pursue this.
To drive this home, Parable 3. When elephants behave like bacteria, why is elephants living in harmony mimic bacteria's unsustainable mechanistic success? Exponential growth, consuming everything, leads to ruin.
In this pursuit, they lost their essence. Long memories, intricate social structures, compassion, identity, strength became weakness, leading to psychological distress. Unnatural and unsustainable for elephants to behave like bacteria, pursuing unfettered consumption growth on a survival spectrum. Our strength lies in understanding, adaptation, stewardship, collaboration, our place on the consciousness spectrum.
It even reframes things like loss aversion.
Right. Not a survival flaw, but a benefit for conscious communion, not wanting to lose meaningful connections. It's the consciousness spectrum, not mechanistic survival.
And finally, the ultimate allegory, the Emperor's New Clothes. From materialist orthodoxy, a story of collective delusion, conformity, fear of defeat, the materialist neo-Darwinian conception of nature is the invisible clothes.
Illustrates psychological phenomena, spiral of silence, fear of ostracization, confirmation bias, interpreting info to confirm beliefs, pluralistic ignorance, private doubts not voiced.
But the child points out the naked ember.
Just as Plantinga and Nagel are children breaking the delusion of conflict between science and religion, exposing flaws of purely materialistic view failing to account for consciousness, purpose, truth.
The promise.
A holistic, inclusive science of agency, embracing the untapped potential hidden within the broadest spectrum of consciousness, has potential for breathtaking advancements that transcend the boundaries of the material realm. A call to a more expansive, meaningful, human scientific future.
So what does this all mean for you? We've journeyed through millennia of agency early consciousness, ancient civilizations, axial age leaps, quantum physics, logic. We've seen how a narrow, purely mechanistic view has been challenged, dissolved, opening the door to a richer understanding of consciousness and purpose.
This deep dive reveals the biggest questions. Existence, choices, relationship with nature, the divine are far from settled. They are ripe for new, holistic, inclusive, scientific exploration, inviting wonder and inquiry.
What stands out to you from this exploration? And how might embracing a broader, more conscious science of agency transform your perspective on our shared future, our technology, the very purpose of being human? We invite you to continue this deep dive on your own.